Yeah. All right, we got it recording now. So, yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the time for this. I know you've probably seen the jokes online. Everything from outright hate to, I know you got fans too. They appreciate what you do. And, let's go.
No. First of all, I get it. Okay, this is a very disconcerting time for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, not just for me, not just for fans, for Archie as well.
Yeah.
You know, I have had a great amount of sympathy for Ian throughout this whole ordeal because I can't imagine it's being fun for him to have to deal. You know, because if he says something and then events kind of conspire against him, it's sort of like, you lied to us. I don't think Ian did that at all. I think Ian tried to put the best foot forward on everything, you know, the best way he could. You guys have a good lunch? It was just a situation where maybe you go good. The law doesn't say you can only do just so much.
Yeah.
You have to, when you get into this, it's an all or nothing proposition. It's going to courts, you know, someone would have been a winner, outright winner, someone would have been an outright loser.
Yeah.
This way with the settlements, you know, both sides had to come somewhere into the middle.
Yeah.
So, and you know, people can take away here. There was a meeting, you know, we met in the middle, we were dead. Archie can do, I have no comment on what they do with their business.
Yes.
It's their business.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I do have my copyrights. I do have my characters. I am going forward with the Lara-Su project.
Yes.
You know, I am going forward with the storylines that people just asked me about for years. Okay, what did you intend to do with this character? You know, I didn't have the chance to explore a lot of these characters, you know, because they were always intended at some future point. Here's this world for, you know, I needed to create a world for Knuckles to play because there was virtually nothing for him to play. This is why a lot of people, what they don't get, you know, they say, well, it couldn't have existed without Knuckles. Okay, what they don't ever stop to consider is the flip side, that without the world I gave him, there would be no Knuckles. You know, I mean, you put him out there, and I can point to the Nintendo line of comics that Valiant put out back in the early 90s, which I also worked on. I worked on the Legend of Zelda title. And the problem with those books is they were so faithful to the video game. They didn't add anything. They didn't give a richer experience. Okay? And if you read a lot of the comments, you know, especially in the past several weeks, about why fans gravitated to the Sonic books, why they've been, you know, upset over the whole situation, it's because the world that I and the other creators built up in those books, you know, gave you a richer, deeper experience than you could have gotten it just by the video games alone, even by the cartoons alone, because the cartoons ended, you know, and the thing is, unlike DC or Marvel, Sega never maintained a consistency. Okay, you know, you pick up a Superman comic, you watch even Man of Steel or the Richard Donner Superman. Clark Kent is Superman. He was raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent. He came from the planet Krypton. Jor-El was his father. Okay, Lois Lane is his significant other. He comes to work for the Daily Planet. You have these touchstones that no matter what version you get,
That's always going to be there.
It's always there. Same thing with Batman. Okay, you have Bruce Wayne as Batman, you have Alfred, you have the gets in the Batmobile, goes fights the Joker. You've got those touchstones. Whether it's the Michael Keaton version, whether it's the Adam West version, whether it's the comics, whether it's the Christopher Nolan version.
Yeah.
You just
How about in front of Special Hero? How's that?
the closest it comes to that is the Archie series.
I'm right here in front of
The thing is, I literally worked for years with the Sega licensing department, my partner Larry Houston and I, to try to get a mass market version of Sonic via the film. A film project, I guess, where we would have said, okay, there's Sonic, this is his world, okay, we've now got the universal established mythology.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Everything moves forward from there. And it's only due to the untimely death of the Sega licensing manager, Robert Leffler, that we were never able to get the project off the ground after that. I mean, people tried to. I mean, they actually, Larry and I had a meeting after the death of Rob Leffler with a Sega executive. And we figured we were just going to try and pick up the pieces and just get a property, license that, and move forward because, he couldn't give us any word on Sonic because Sonic, they were in flux at the time. This was like 2007. And we met with the Sega executive in Beverly Hills, and he said to us, after we told him what we were interested in doing, he says, you've been working on Sonic, how come you aren't talking to us about that? And I said, well, we've been trying to talk to you about that, but
Nobody wants to tell you about it.
Yeah, So, I look, the fans have one point of view of the history of Sonic. Okay? I have a completely different view of the history of Sonic. For example, I look at 2011, okay, and I look at that as, if Larry and I had been successful, we would have had a CGI animated film, out there for Sonic's 20th anniversary. That's what Robert Leffler was working with us on, trying, and that's some of those emails I'm going to be releasing, as part of the public record of the history of this stuff, because and that's the other thing. There's a lot of documents now I can now put forward for people to see, that I couldn't before, because of the legal situation.
Well, now that you have that ability, you can open some doors and some eyes to some people.
Well, I'd like to think I am. I see some of the stuff, for example, the way fans, Marvel DC fans react, like to the Kirby estate versus Marvel, or Siegel and Schuster versus DC. So, I mean, is it any surprise what the reaction is with me?
It's the same community, so.
Look at it. People, let's put it, if I was Joe Smith, okay, nobody would be treating the Lara-Su Chronicles seriously at all. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, I created these characters, I wrote these characters, I illustrated these characters, okay, and I'm going forward to tell the rest of the story. Okay. You don't get more legitimate than that. That's not fan fiction for sure. I don't understand why people feel the need to have to at least go down to that level.
That was a question I had for you. You mentioned the Lara-Su Chronicles.
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen a couple of documents came my way for the script for that? Did you know about that?
What? I posted some script pages.
Okay. All right. So somebody had sent that to me and said, "Hey, these were out there. Did you know about it?" Okay.
Yeah. So there is script pages out.
Okay. I didn't know if you knew about that.
No.
Somebody asked me to.
Right. I posted some script pages on my message board.
Okay.
So yes, and the reason I did that is you had a chance just to read those script pages.
Yeah.
And without the visuals, you could start to decide whether or not this was an actual story
But it's not by
that was continuation
Okay,
of
yeah.
what you saw before.
Or science.
You didn't have the visuals to influence you whatsoever. You had
Yeah.
just the story. Did it sound like the characters? Did it read like, okay, this is something,
he can take.
you know, so that was the whole point.
Okay.
The elephant.
I got a question, and this was asked to me to ask you. Do we have any idea of a release date for this?
What I'm going to do right now, the game plan is to start with the website Labor Day weekend. I'm going to be putting stuff up, and that includes first few pages of the comic. I shouldn't use that word comic. I should use the word graphic novel.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll be putting the first few pages of the story online. I will also be putting like characters and their histories.
Yeah.
I will also be doing things like designing videos, for example, how to draw these characters, that sort of thing. So basically, what I'm looking to do is just start out with this website and grow the website with more story. Because right now I'm in the process of creating something that's not your typical downloadable content.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, right now I'm working on getting the book in 3 different languages right now. I've started getting it in Spanish and French translations. So like when you click on the app, okay, when right now I would consider the website the beta.
Okay.
And then we go, and the app is being developed right now, and it's like you get the app, you go to the menu page,
Yeah.
you select the language.
Oh, so it's an auto translator. It does it for you. It already has the translated stuff there for you.
You'll have it right. So then, when you open it up to the first panel, okay, the word balloons will either come down in sequence, you know, in English or in Spanish or in French, and if I can get somehow it translated into other languages, you know, I'm trying to find an Arabic translator and a Japanese and Chinese translator. The whole point being is I'm not thinking specifically the American market.
I hope it saved that part of the video, but
so
it
too.
decided to close that one out. Anyway, the last 2 questions after the market. The first of which, people have been asking me to ask this. Okay, what do you do about the fans and those that have the millions of fans that practically hate you right now? I get emails and messages every way. Ask him, what do you do about those fans?
You know, so the only thing I can say is if they want to hate, that's fine. I mean, you don't get into this business expecting to be loved by everyone.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Simple as that. I mean, even Jack Kirby, I love the man's art and everything, but I know that there's people there that can't stand his work whatsoever. You know, and to me, it's just pure ignorance. You know, so I can't think of a single artist whose work is universally loved by everyone. Okay. You know, and the thing is, like I get the criticisms on my level of talent and everything, and how am I supposed to respond to that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I say something, it's like I'm tooting my own horn. That's not who I am.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I do my work. I have the respect of my peers. Okay. this gentleman can tell you about my relationship with other professionals. He hired me, so he could, so
I begin to get this vibe of like.
this is Elliot, by the way. Elliot Mangan.
Oh, that would explain why I was like, why is he under it? Okay, now I get it. Yes.
What?
Oh, we were looking for his name, and then we were like, II09. It's okay. We'll come down here anyway.
Right. Yeah. See, like I did that in commemoration of Elliot's.
That's the commemoration right there.
He's a guest of honor here at the Comic Con.
Oh, sweet.
So I actually illustrated that here at Comic Con. People were watching me, take brush to paper when I was, and
That is great.
It is.
I mean, how can I, think I'm,
Yeah, that is actually really great right there.
I mean, so when somebody says, you don't know what you're doing, you have no talent, it's like, what is your criteria
For talent?
What is, no, I don't, I believe everybody has ability,
Yeah.
okay? But what is their qualifications to make the judgment call? Okay, this man wrote Superman for 17 years. He was an editor at DC. Okay, he's worked with some of the top names in the business. Okay, now if he's giving me assignments, obviously he thinks I have something there. If other publishers have given me assignments, I mean I worked on Sonic for 12 years. Okay, that should tell you.
Yeah, Gil Kane wasn't available that week.
Nice.
Oh, really? He's
No. I get to talk to you next because there are lots of Superman fans out there too. Trust me, I've already got someone who's told me if you see anybody, go talk to him. But
I do have another question myself. People have noticed that there is definitely a distinctly different style for the Lara-Su Chronicles, and they were wanting. I guess is that for like copyright reasons because of the style, or
No.
is that just because yours?
No, okay, no. I first of all, Archie. I mean, the Sonic books.
yep.
They mostly go for like a 2D flat look. Okay, and I'm more or less looking to develop in a 3D, look. And shading and all that, simply because I am thinking longer term and multi-platform.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not. I mean, here's my business card. All right, this is what I'm handing out to people. All right. If that doesn't give you an indication,
We'll get a digital scan of that at home.
Okay, yeah,
So we don't lose it.
right.
you know what I'm saying? That I'm not running away from the characters I created.
Right.
I'm not. I mean, Jeffrey will look like Jeffrey when he shows up. Prince Elias, so on. And the thing is, I wish people would quit with this. I'm going to put all the characters, shovel them all in.
Oh, yeah.
I guess
It's not going to happen. I have a specific storyline. The storyline has attracted attention, and the characters will come into play when they're absolutely needed. Like when I started writing the story, for example, I didn't realize how much of a part the character Spectre was going to play, for example. And it turns out he's got. I use the term loosely here, relationship with the Dark Legion, particularly Leenda, that I think the readers are really going to be fascinated with, when they see that. So I'm very optimistic that once we get past all this and they actually start seeing story pages, that the story, itself is going to, draw them in.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to say anything further, like, hey, this is going to be, I'm not going to be the guy who promotes and say, hey, it's going to be great or anything like that.
Right.
Okay, I'm not that guy. I've always been the person, look, you pay your money, you get to say whatever you want. That's your right. You actually, put your hard-earned money towards something I produce. If you like it, I'm deeply appreciative. If you don't like, well, you know, guess I have to try harder. That's how I. No, seriously. I mean, that's always been my attitude. I don't take it for granted when a person spends their time and their money on anything I do. I never have. So, I think if people give it a chance, I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised.
All right, last question.
Sure.
And this one actually may be a little more aesthetically pleasing for you. What do you have to say to your fans? Because there are people that do like Lara-Su and Lee and Da and things like that.
What I have to say, I think I've demonstrated. I've always liked the fans. I've always been accessible. I mean, I was the first Sonic creator to engage with them on the internet. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
My email is always out there. If somebody wants to contact me, I respond. I mean, I get photographs from fans all the time. Here they're showing, holding up the Sonic comments or artwork I've done or something. And so, I mean, I've always loved the Sonic fans. The thing is, my way of thinking about the book and the characters is, I think, a lot broader than many. For example, like they get on terms like anthropomorphics.
Yeah.
Okay. I have never thought of Sonic as anthropomorphic, as strange as that sounds. Okay. I mean, the thing was, when I got into comics, I never saw myself working on a book like Sonic. I mean, I was veering for like Star Trek or Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when Sonic, came my way, I didn't go, oh, this is just, some nothing title and just leave it at that. It's like, okay, this is something interesting. What do I do with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I've always respected the material. I've always respected, the fans. Right? I can't help it if, for example, we weren't given directions, what the thing should be all about. We literally had to make up the roadmap ourselves along the way when we were working on the book in the early days. Nobody gave us a roadmap and said, here, this is what you need to do with the characters and so on. We really had to figure it out ourselves. So, everything we did, it was with the intent of, okay, is this something that's going to interest you guys?
Yeah.
And I think, like, for example, the comments on my Knuckles stories, okay, they always regard that as, whenever I see anybody write about the Knuckles series, how it's the more mature, the more consistent of the titles and so on. And I've always gotten my strongest mail, from the Knuckles crowd, simply because I didn't talk down to the kids. I never talked down to the kids. I always thought, like I had people's parents say to me, what'd you put that word in there for? The kid's not going to understand it. Well, they can go to the dictionary just like I did when I was their age, Seriously. Stan Lee wouldn't hesitate to, put those kind of words in his script. He wouldn't hesitate, Elliot wouldn't hesitate to put those,
hesitate to take them out.
So to me, it was always a measure of respect for the fans, that they would make the leap with me, as far as, the material.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and your patience.
Yes, thank you so much. It's always good to get the other side of the story.